Hello friend, this is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and today for this Reseller Friday I want to talk to you about examining your ways in your business. I've talked numerous times in my videos about examining yourself, and often we take that from a spiritual perspective because the scripture talks about we examine ourselves to see whether we be in the faith or not. But this applies to other areas as well. That's an important activity to do where you examine what you're doing. And so many resellers aren't examining what they're doing. They've just gotten this rut and they're doing the same things over and over and over, hoping that eBay's algorithm gives them better results, hoping that Poshmark does this or Etsy does this or Depop does this or Mercari. They're just hoping that the platforms fix their underperforming business. We have to be the ones on top of our business. No one else cares about your business as much as you do. That doesn't mean people don't like you or don't care about you, but the reality is other people have to focus on their own lives and what they're doing in their business. Even if you have employees, they do not care about your business as much as you do. Plain and simple. You shouldn't even be able to reasonably expect that they would. But this is why it's so fundamentally important that we do examine ourselves. We do look at what we're doing each and every day. Now, I'm not saying every day you got to sit down for an hour and examine what you're doing in your business. But once a week, you can easily do it. Or you can do it for a few minutes in the evening. You kind of got all your work done for the day and just examine what you did that day. What worked and what didn't. What could have been better? What could have been different? If you sourced that day, was there something you did that you think, oh, maybe that wasn't the wise thing I could have done. I should have done something different. How can you be growing and improving your business? Because I talk to so many people, and because I've been on like eBay, for example, for 20 years, I've been reselling for decades on various platforms, and I meet so many people who are just stuck in ruts. They've been doing the same thing for a decade. The only changes they've made in their business, changes have been forced upon them, like adding item specifics because eBay requires it, or running boosted listings on Depop because it's pretty much required to get sales. Doing things, maybe running a Poshmark closet clear out to get more sales. But they really haven't adapted anything. Their sourcing's the same. They're going to the same places, getting the same stuff, and they're wondering why they're not growing. If you keep doing the same exact things you're doing, it's not even that you're going to stay at the same position, because you're doing the same things, but you're wanting the same results, but you're in a different marketplace, because every single day, every week, every month, every year, that marketplace you're selling on is doing something. It's either getting more and more sellers on there, so you have more competition, which means there's less eyeballs to view your items because the same items are now being shown from other sellers and you. So there's a less distribution of people out there to buy your product. This is why we got to be constantly adapting and looking, changing our sourcing up, changing our sourcing patterns. Maybe if you're always going in the evening to a certain thrift store, maybe you need to go right when they open up the store. If you go to the bins, for example, and you go in the afternoon, maybe you need to go when those doors open and stay all day long. I know some people who split up their sourcing amongst many days, and that's perfectly fine if you want to do it that way. But especially if you're going to a place like the bins, maybe just stay there all day long, one day a week, and get all your sourcing done for the week in that one day. It may also show you during that one full day of work, you see when better things are being put out, or you see there's more frequency in this certain time period. So then if you want to go back to your sourcing every day or whatever pattern you're in, you know the best times to go there to get the best options for items for you to resell. How you handle a customer complaint. You need to examine yourself and see what you're doing. Did you handle it angrily because somebody wants to return something? You need to look at these things and examine what is your policy for returns. Do you have no returns accepted? Well, that's allowed on some platforms, but a lot of times they'll get you fewer sales, and in many cases, like example of eBay, it doesn't matter if you say no returns are accepted. All the customer has to do is say this is not as described. which is a very subjective term because what does that mean? Because the buyers often don't read anything. They look at pictures and they guess at what they think they're getting. So for them, they may have thought they're getting something different, even though you never said that. Even you might have even had in your description something saying the exact opposite of what they thought they were getting. They're still going to say it's not as described. And now you got a return that you have to pay for, and you don't have any of the protections you would have if you offered free returns. You're still paying for it. So it's still a free return, except you just limited the potential sales you could have had because fewer people will see your item because you don't have free returns. These are just things you need to look at and examine your policies. Examine these things regularly. Once a week, sit down and really think about it. Examine what worked during the week. It's not all just bad things, of course. What worked well? Start doubling down on that. I went to this new little thrift store. I found great items there. I'm going to start going there more often. That's a great thing to notice and take note of. Sometimes people aren't very observant. They don't really know. They just kind of, I got a few items at this thrift store, a few items at this one, and they just kind of keep going to the same ones over and over again. What I did at one point was I had a set schedule about 20 different thrift stores and stuff, and had a little notebook in my car with a pen. So there's no excuse for me not writing it down. And I wrote down every thrift store I went to, the day I went to on it, what thrift store it was, what I bought, and the profit potential from the items I bought. For every single thrift store. I did that for months until I started seeing patterns. You know, you're going to a bunch of thrift stores, it's easy to get them all it kind of becomes a blur, and you just kind of view it as a good day sourcing, even though maybe a couple of those thrift stores were terrible. But when you write it down, you're taking notes and you realize patterns. On Wednesdays, as one thrift store, I keep coming away with way more items. What's going on Wednesdays? Oh, that's when the regional manager comes to that thrift store and they put out the best items. Maybe. There are things going on that you may not notice until you keep some track of it. That's another way you can examine your business and examine things and see what's going on and improve. Some of those thrift stores you might realize, I need to stop going here every day because it's a waste of my time. I'm finding nothing 5 out of 6 days a week. So maybe I need to just go there 1 day a week and cut that time out, because that time could be used, that is being used, wasted going to that thrift store. It's not netting you any good products to sell. You could instead invest that time in listing more items. That would get you more sales. The main thing I just want to emphasize today is that you examine yourself, at least weekly. You can do a little bit of self-examination each day, but every week at least you need to sit down for 10 minutes at least and just think about, what are you doing? What did you do that worked? What did you do that didn't work? And write this down too. Okay, my sourcing was good at this place. I did a real good job of putting back stuff that wasn't going to be selling for much that I normally would have bought. These are all great things to note. And they can reinforce things you're learning while you're out there sourcing, or learning in your business, or while you're shipping stuff. You learn this little tweak to do this, or this is an easier way to break a box down and to turn it into a smaller size. There are things you're learning in your business that you might lose if you don't take some notes of it and you don't examine yourself and examine your business at least weekly. So I encourage you today. This video is being recorded on a Friday. It's released on a Friday. So just sit down tomorrow, Saturday, or even Sunday, and examine yourself and see what worked and what didn't work. Do this prayerfully and get God's wisdom. Seek His wisdom to learn lessons from your week and what you did right and what maybe isn't working and you need to tweak or get rid of completely. And start trying to improve the things that didn't work, mainly by cutting stuff out that you don't need to be doing, or if it's not working for you, and doubling down the stuff that is working. And watch as your business grows to an even higher level of success, happiness, and wealth. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.